Welcome to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur, where we explore the journeys of those who have turned challenges into triumphs and resilience into a business model. Today, we're joined by a remarkable guest, Elyse Howard, an integrative transformational specialist and the driving force behind Massage Nerd Integrative Health. Elyse's journey from witnessing her mother's struggles with pain to overcoming her own physical and mental challenges, including a severe car accident and victorious fight against cervical cancer, will showcase this life of defiance and faith. And let's just dive right into the conversation. Elyse, welcome to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott.
Oh, you're so welcome. I mean, you are exactly who this show is meant for. You have been through a lot and are doing some great things, and I'm excited for the audience to get to know you and know what you do. So, I mean, the thing that jumped out at me from your bio is that you've got the word nerd right in your brand. So let's just jump in there. Tell me about Massage Nerd Integrative Health. What is that?
What is it? So it is definitely what is in the title. I began as a massage therapist 13 years ago, and it has transitioned many times with collecting modalities, educating, and learning different modalities on how we can bridge the gap between conventional medicine and functional medicine. So Massage Nerd, the NERD, stands for Neuro-Emotional Reprogramming Discipline. And our favorite ideology, if you will, and mission basis is to help people understand that we have a lot of control over this. God gave us everything that we need, and if we can just give our bodies what it needs as a fuel and the compounds and natural nutrition that we need, the body knows what to do. We're not the genius ones. The body's the genius.
Okay. And in our little pre-show chat, you threw out the term biohacking.
Correct.
It's a term that you kind of hear if you're on social media much, and it gets thrown around. I'm not sure we really know what that means. I know you do. What does that mean?
So when you have conventional medicine, right, where you go to the doctors, you have a regular MD, you have your nurse practitioners, you have maintenance, routine blood labs, and there's a treatment plan for maintenance. When you get into biohacking, we kind of focus more on the biology of the body, right? What are we made out of? We're made out of molecular hydrogen. We're made out of oxygen. We're made out of phosphorus. We're made out of potassium, the magnesiums, right? So when you hack your biology, we have the power, you and I and every single one of us have the power to change different gene regulations, whether you're upregulating or downregulating genes. We kind of choose that with the foods that we're eating, the things that we're drinking, the thoughts that we're thinking, the things that we're listening to, the podcast, the music, if you will. So every single thing that we have has a frequency, if you will. And we have the capabilities to have control of what space we're in, where we are, the foods that we eat, and the energies we consume, with all of those all encompassing. So a biohacker is able to change how that happens. So as you read, I'm a cancer survivor. I had stage 3 cervical cancer. I would have been the 5th generation in my family to die of cancer. I had watched my mother pass away from cancer 13 years ago. Hers was stage 4. It was a lung. So she passed away from lung, small cell adenocarcinoma. My uncle, same cancer, small cell adenocarcinoma. My grandmother, breast. My great-grandmother, brain. So with that lineage, the doctors told me that I would be dead within 6 to 9 months if I did not do the chemo and the radiation. And I'm a big believer in God. I have a lot of faith. And the math wasn't mathing for me with how long my mother was in the medical system and the things that it just didn't do for her. And his will is his will, right? God's will is God's will. So I just didn't give the power over to that. So I decided to make change. And 7 years cancer-free, Thank you, Jesus.
Praise Jesus.
All natural, and also had multiple disc herniations, over 7 disc herniations in a car accident in 2013. Ended up ballooning up to 230 pounds. I gained 100 pounds after that. Had bilateral carpal tunnel, level 4, level 5, which was a double crush. So that means that I had herniations in my C-spine and in entrapment in nerves in my wrist. 4 lumbar in the lower back, herniations so bad they were close to rupture. So they offered surgery, but again, I declined and just kind of got on the journey of really getting disciplined, getting into the first book of Genesis of how our seed is our food and he puts it here for us. So I kind of just took, I took that by the reins and went with that.
You went back to the beginning. So what sort of things did you start eating, taking to deal with all that? Let's just start with all the stuff with your spine. How did you help your body heal itself?
So again, we go back into the biohacking, right? Where we are hydroelectric beings. The hydro is water, electric, our nervous system is electricity. The myelin sheath that covers it is literally like a rubber coating that covers our electrical wires, right? So I just went all the way back to biology and I got back to the basics. And I said, if we are made of proteins, amino acids, magnesium, building blocks, water, why am I not continuously putting this into my body? And let's cut all processed foods. Processed foods, anything in a box, anything that's not man-made. Alcohol, 0 alcohol. Didn't touch alcohol for 7 years. As again, with the spine degeneration and with the cancer, alcohol is a deoxygenizer and dehydrator, not to mention it's a poison, right? So there's so many things that pull from our body. Caffeines, right? I didn't completely do away with my coffee. I just did it differently, right? We have our vices that we're going to
now
keep
you're
and
meddling.
what we'll kind of get rid of.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really just kind of made a commitment to myself of what are the habits that you're really going to keep. So I got disciplined with putting whole foods into my body, switching any type of sweet or high carb breakfast for a very savory breakfast, eggs, proteins, clean veggies, things of that nature, protein shakes. I do recommend more of a plant-based protein shake versus whey, but I would say either eating lean, clean meat. Our amino acid complexes, our proteins are so vital to be able to aid our building blocks because our muscle isn't just our skeletal muscle, right? It isn't just what we have on the outside. It's also our visceral smooth muscle as well. And collagen is what aids in our arteries and our vessels. So all of these building blocks really, we only take so much to actually build it, but yet we become so toxified and toxined with the things that we kind of put in our bodies and in our mind.
Wow. That's amazing. That takes some real, you had some good motivation to do it. That's for sure.
Exactly.
With all that was happening.
Yeah.
I
had to sign an affidavit for my health saying I was neglecting my health, and which they have to cover their side. And I completely understand that. But you will get serious with your decisions once you have to sign on the dotted line that if you fail, you're killing yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm 55, getting closer and closer to 56, and want to be a high performer for decades to come. And so I'm getting more and more serious about what I put in my body and the activities that I do and try to take care of my health. In fact, I got my blood done today. I get it quarterly done for my functional doctor. What sort of things do the entrepreneurs that are listening, that's who our audience, there may be someone that's having chronic issues. So what you've said so far is going to be very helpful. What does just the normal person that we're just dealing with just the age, right? Where everyone's having to deal with that no matter who you are, it's a fight. So what do they need to be doing to maintain peak levels of performance from your perspective in the health industry?
So especially in the entrepreneurial realm, right, where we don't have a clock
Yeah.
in or a clock out, right? There's not the work-life balance that
Yep.
everyone tries to praise, right? It's not really
Nope.
a big possibility, right? So reducing stress levels,
Yeah.
controlling your controllables,
That's one.
right? Getting the mindset ready first. But supplementation wise, molecular hydrogen is a gas that is profound in what it basically helps heal any type of epithelial dysfunction in the body. And there's a supplement that you can get with that as well. Hydrogen ion bottles are phenomenal. Sodium bicarbonate are a phenomenal aid. Now, especially with entrepreneurs, we have high stress, right? From day to day, there's a lot of things that can be controlled, and some of the stress levels cannot be controlled.
Yep.
So we want to aid in those oxidative stressors to reduce that internal upregulation to maintain. So exercise is huge. At least 2 like high intensity workouts a week, 15 minutes is phenomenal to aid in vasodilation, vasocontraction, getting those toxins in that blood flow and putting a good stressor on the body, because we have those hard stressors that are not optional. So we must implement good stressors to strengthen like an immune system, right? Our immunity to those stressors. Weightlifting is phenomenal. We can aid in reversing arthritis, reversing degeneration, aiding in our muscle of longevity, right? All of our muscle organs. That helps reduce cardiovascular issues, metabolic issues, because we've kind of become accustomed to thinking that we're over fat and obese as a
Yep.
society, when really we're just under muscled.
That's right.
And the more that we can kind of take care of that and aid in the body, it's a really big deal. Protein satiety. Every person really should be having 1 gram of protein per 1 pound body weight on a daily basis. However you choose to intake it, you want it super, super clean. So I would say if you are a meat eater, you want to have regenerative farming, very clean farming practices. It is very important. I know people think it's silly for like happy cows, but it's a big deal. No antibiotics, free range, very clean. And I say 1 pound or 1 gram protein for 1 pound body weight, just because in our new studies and what we're finding, because I do pay, $10,000 tickets for seminars where we're sitting in,
Yep.
where we've got biologists and neurobiologists and people that are self-funded to really find how we really work, right? Not what's going to be financially beneficial for the long run, but how we really heal from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
And 1 gram protein for 1 pound body weight is just phenomenal as amino acid building blocks, right? So if we break it down on a simple basis, most Americans, or wherever you're at, usually you're going to grab a bagel or a muffin or a donut first thing in the morning, or some juice, right? So you got high carb, high sugar, you're hitting your glucose spike, you're hitting the insulin sensitivity as soon as the day comes in. So what we're looking for is we want like a 30 gram protein breakfast if you're going to be eating breakfast first thing, right? And especially any time that you're eating, 30 to 50 grams is ideal, because we want that 30 grams of protein to trigger the 2 grams of leucine to trigger amino acid complex to help that body get those building blocks in order. If that kind of the little simple way of kind of, it's more complicated than that, but that's a simple way of kind of breaking things down.
Yeah.
Satiety is huge, because, and I'm kind of hammering on protein a little bit just because I want to make things very simple, right? And people kind of grasp, if we're an entrepreneur, right, and you're getting in, you got a podcast to do, you've got scheduling, you've got your son to take care of, you've got your wife, you've got all of these things, business to run. If we're putting something in our body where now my brain can function better, now I can think more clearly, I don't have that inside jittery anxiety, I think I'm anxious, but I'm really not anxious, it's just my lack of satiety. It's my cells looking for fuel, and it's pulling it everywhere it can, but we haven't been properly educated to understand that we have more of a nutrition imbalance and a metabolic mineral imbalance than high anxiety and high stress.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Scott Reed, cutting in for a quick moment. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in our discussions, you're going to love the Access Plan. It's designed for entrepreneurs like you, offering unlimited legal advice without the worry of high hourly fees. With the Access Plan, you can get the legal support you need at a flat monthly rate so you can focus on growing your business with confidence. Head over to reblaw.com/access to learn more and join Access now and get busy shadowproofing your business. Now let's get back to our amazing guest.
So a couple takeaways there from me would be hammer the protein. Make sure you're taking your body weight in grams and that you're dividing that in roughly thirds throughout. So breakfast, middle of the day, evening, and spacing those out because that does some cool chemical things in your body that are important. And then second thing would be resistance training for your skeletal structure and for muscle mass. If they do those two,
3-4 times a week, ideally.
If they do those two things, that's going to make a major difference in how they feel and look, and are able to perform.
Significant difference.
Would you add into that they also need to be hydrating at a certain level?
Most definitely. The hydration is key. And I would say distilled water and hydrogen water is the ideal waters that you want. Distilled water aids in pulling toxins and removing toxicities from the body. And hydrogen water is infused with hydrogen ions. So that, again, is just aiding in healing and pulling toxicities from the body. Now, there's so many people say, okay, well, half of your body weight in ounces and et cetera. You want to have water with you at all times. Big water in, big water out. You're going to guzzle, be ready to run to the bathroom, right? We're not hydrating as much. Yeah. And that's where minerals come in, because we are not just a water-based hydration system. Our internal hydration is very crystallized, right? So it's not just the water basis. That's where our magnesium and our phosphorus comes in, because we need those. So kind of like a fallacy, a lot of people you'll see, stop having salt with food. Stop having the butter with your steak. No, we want the salt and we want the butter. We just want super clean, clarified ghee. And we want flake salt or pink Himalayan non-GMO, super clean organic salt on all of our foods all day long, because that is aiding in hydration. That is aiding in minerals in our body. Magnesium alone governs over 300 different functions in our body. I can't bat my eyelashes. I can't speak to you right now. My muscles can't contract. So I love to kind of give this little fun. A lot of people have acid reflux, right? From high stress. If we have high stress, we've been drinking coffee, we've been having processed foods, all of that is pulling magnesium out of our tissues, out of our organs, out of these vital connective tissues and communicators or nervous system that we need. If we're aiding a little pinch of Celtic salt or Himalayan in our waters, right? A little bit of lemon, what have you. We don't got to buy $1 million fancy drinks, right? We have everything that we need, right? And then you're aiding that consistently throughout the day. Those firings are going to be much better, right? Now, a lot of people with acid reflux, we've found that stress is keeping the sphincter. We'll call it a sphincter. We can call it a flap, whatever you'd like. But in the esophageal lining, it has an open and a close. Mm-hmm. And majority of people, especially due to caffeines, alcohol, prescription medications, processed foods, sodas, things that are just heavily processed and synthetic. We are organic compounds. When we take in inorganic compounds or synthetic man-made things, these pull vital things from our body. So when we're having that magnesium, right, a lot of people will see a reduction in acid reflux and a reduction in those issues, because now the body has the proper fuel to open and close and regulate. Does that kind of help a little? We could go on for so many things, but I'm trying to give you pieces.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's
so yes, hydration.
Yeah, one of the things that, I mean, all that stuff is very technical and kind of maybe over some of our heads. But the reason you know all this stuff is because you've not only spent time studying it, but you've spent money going places where where people know things you don't, so that you can gain more knowledge. And so the audience, as they're listening or watching this, you need to invest to get into rooms where you can learn skills and information that you're just not going to get access to just sitting at your desk. As great as the internet is with all the information, you've got to be willing to invest and pull away from what you're doing and go to an event and learn from experts. It's so valuable to your health, obviously, and then to your business. So let's kind of switch to your business. You've obviously had some huge health challenges that you've overcome. Praise Jesus. But what sort of challenges have you had in business?
Well, I'm just going to add to a statement that you said with going to events and paying. I trade my employees by team members from other business. If we empty our wallets into our minds will fill up our wallet. So I just want to it's very important because we don't always know. We don't know what we don't know. And the more that I go to these locations and the more that I do speak with other people that make multiple 7 and 8 figures and they've built companies and they've done things that I aspire to do, it's the humbling of we don't know what we don't know. And the more that I know, the more I realize I don't know. But difficulties in business, oh my gosh, where do I begin? So I had started doing massage 13 years ago, and it's not something that's taken very seriously. We all kind of take our careers or what we do differently, right? Where it's, if you hear doctor, lawyer, nurse, people have a different respect. So with massage therapists, they're like, oh, you're a masseuse? And it's like all of us still cringe at that word because it just sounds like a dirty parlor word, right? So I immediately got into medical massage. I got my medical massage practitioner certification. I'm also a rehab specialist and do personal training as well. But the difficulties is gaining respect, because you must give respect to get respect, right? Being a female, as you said, first and foremost, you're like, well, you don't look like a nerd. So when I kind of pull up and we do certain things, it's always a challenge, especially with individuals that are older than me, for the respect to happen. It's very much like of having to prove oneself over and over and over again, regardless of the rooms I'm in. I do a lot of Chamber of Commerce work. I do a lot of seminars. I actually am a speaker and get paid to speak in different locations for different things, but it's taken a lot to get to that point. So I would say challenges is don't let things get emotional. We tend to be emotional beings, but finding logic and understanding different individuals' personalities has probably been one of my stronger suits for challenges, because there's challenge every day.
No doubt. One of my mentors, Howard Partridge, always says you have to either build up a team or give up the dream. And you've already mentioned employees and team members. So tell us a little bit about your business, kind of what you have employees that you're responsible for?
Yeah. So I love educating other massage therapists and physical therapists, personal trainers, and we also have chiropractors, and I have a blood microscopist that we refer to as well. In-house, we have options for being a contractor, right? So you would earn a percentage. You have the option to rent a space, right? So you can be your own boss as well, right? Or you have the option to be an employee, right? Where you get paid an hourly rate, because different people have different mindsets. And so I always like to give them options, because when we're going to school, like we're anybody going to school, anything, it's like, oh, you can make your own hours. You create your own life. You do whatever you want. It's like, it's kind of like a smoke and mirror image, right? And I like to give people very logical, firm information, because if we are not disciplined and structured and do the work day in and day out, we're not going to have a business, much less clients, or making a schedule that we want to create, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we give those options, and then sometimes it'll change as their kind of career grows. Because some people, they just want to get in, try to make money, right? They just want to be an employee, make a couple bucks an hour so they don't have to write a check. And that's phenomenal. That's completely based that. However, I always want to educate them on the options that they do have. And a lot of people think I'm silly for it because they're like, well, that's less revenue in your pocket, Elyse. Why would you educate them on the different realms of it? And it's like, there's billions of people in this world. And the more that we understand that when we do good, we get good. When we teach well, others absorb, and there's a trust that is anchored. So I always like to educate and make things very transparent. And there's different personality types, right? So not everybody wants to be their own boss. Not everybody wants to get out there and do and build things. It is not easy to build foundation. And, you know, it's the difference of a 10-story building and a 100-story building, right? We've got to go 10 floors under for that 100-story, and it'll take way longer. But the people that see that 10-story is like, oh, that looks nice. Let me just try to do that. And you've got not a good foundation, not such a firm foundation, but it was done very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on the person, the personalities, and being able to really communicate and not judge. Everybody knows that they can come to me with an open mind, open space. I'm always going to pray with them first, right? And see what their goals are, what they're looking for. Because none of it's really mine to answer, right? We all have a higher calling. So that's really the basis, I believe.
Yeah. And that's where my next transition, as we kind of wrap things up, was, and you've kind of intertwined, and it's gone through the whole interview, but I know your faith's very important to you, and your faith is in Jesus. And a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm a Christian business owner. You know, you'll see athletes pray when they score a touchdown. They give glory to God when they win a game. But you kind of watch the rest of their life, and it's like, oh, that doesn't really match up. I'm not seeing that with you. It's all through what you do. But so how do you integrate your faith with your business? And you said you pray with your employees. How does that work?
Well, nothing is always planned. It's kind of, I'm big with silencing the noise externally. We're not big news consumers. When people try to come in with drama and external negatives, it's not allowed. That is one thing that I'm big with not welcoming in. And as soon as a lot of people, I guess I'm just a personality. A lot of people come to me with their problems. And so I always will lend empathy. However, we always want to base in solutions and give it up, right? Because we have our problems, but we have the power of God. We have the power of laying down. We have the power of submission. And I always just like to implement that. So it's not ever planned. You know, it just kind of happens. If somebody's going through something, I'm like, all right, well, hands out. You know, if people make fun of me because when we're out to eat, we're doing things, we're like praying, and they're like, I but it's just, it just automatically integrates because I guess it's just so rooted there with employees, with patients. I've prayed over my patients. As soon as you walk in, I put 2 offices together in our location. And so that means, you know, the walls had to come down. So there's a part in the drop ceiling that had to be connected, and lighting was put up. So I put a cross there, and there's a lot of wood in the center, as you can tell, but that wood is the only wood that's stained red and on the flat. And you kind of walk into the center, it's like blessed and a few other things. But it's just ingrained. It's just ingrained. And some people, I've got patients that are atheists. I've got patients that don't really believe in God. I've got patients that don't have a faith, and they'll still ask me to pray with them on certain things, or I'll get messages like, you make a prayer, so it's just having the love and not judging and being better all the way around so that people feel welcomed to ask for some support, whatever that support may be.
Yeah, I love it. Well, what's the best way for the audience to connect with you?
The best way, so you can go to nerdbodyworks.com, nerdbodyworks.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. It's very life and balance and business driven. So it kind of all interweaves together. Facebook is Elyse Howard. Instagram is Elyse's Enlightenment. Facebook also would be Massage Nerd Integrative Health. We have a page there as well. But on those sites, you do have access to me personally. So there's always access. My phone number's everywhere. Just because, unfortunately, a lot of people don't value free things. So it's funny how if you put a price on something, people are eager to pay it. But if you give information away for free, there's always a hesitance. So I always like to see the different personality types of who's actually going to reach out and who wants more.
Yeah, we'll take the free. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. As we close, I'd like to offer you a blessing. May you be blessed in all your endeavors. May you be prosperous in every aspect of your life. May your path be enlightened with wisdom, health, and fulfillment. May your work not only achieve success, but create an unbreakable business legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this show and found value in the conversation like I have, please subscribe and like this show and leave us a review. And until next week, stay shatterproof.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. While I'm your host, Scott Reed, and a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, and this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed by my guests are their own and not mine, and they may not even reflect the opinion of the Shatterproof Entrepreneur podcast. So we strive to provide valuable and accurate content, but we make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information to your particular situation, and won't be liable for any errors or omissions for the application of them. Always consult a professional or in the respective area that we've discussed before making any personal or business decisions.